Tonight, we have a follow-up to an interview we brought you last week with Nick Shirley on the massive hospice scheme that he says he uncovered in California. Shirley's report caught the attention of the House Oversight Committee, and now they're launching a congressional investigation, and I sat down with Chairman James Comer to ask him all about it. Take a look. Congressman, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. So the House Oversight Committee has just launched a new investigation into fraud in California. You call it rampant hospice fraud. Tell us what you're looking into and what you found so far.
Well, we've zeroed in on one specific area of fraud, and that's with hospice, a program that everyone supports. I mean, it's what we use in our deepest, darkest times of need. And we found through an audit that $3.5 billion was lost to fraud, primarily in one county in California, Los Angeles County. So in digging deeper, this one county had thousands of people who were licensed, apparently, or at least registered to bill hospice, and some of them were billing hospice for thousands and thousands of patient visits, which is completely impossible. So it was very obvious what was going on, yet no one did anything about it. And like Minnesota, what we had there in Minnesota to work with were state whistleblowers. In California, there's a state whistleblower. We're trying to bring that whistleblower in who claims that Governor Newsom and his staff knew about this, but yet did nothing about it.
I'm going to get to Governor Newsom in just a second, but just for people to understand, why is it that a federal congressional oversight committee needs to look into California hospice fraud? It's because the program uses federal government money, correct?
Federal funds, and when you're talking about the amount of money that was spent in Los Angeles County was 18% of the entire hospice budget that was billed out in the entire United States in that one county.
And is this through Medicare?
This
Medicaid?
is Medicare. There'll be some Medicaid. It depends on the qualification, but it is a significant amount of money. And you know, we have got to do something about fraud. That we're losing so much money to fraud in the federal government. Nobody wants to talk about it. We have all these governors that are blocking anyone from coming in and trying to use AI to be able to detect any, you know, irregularities and things like that that would help detect fraud much sooner.
Duplications, stuff like that. Governor Newsom responded to your probe, arguing that he's one of the toughest hospice fraud crackdown governors in the country. He says that, you know, the president is the one that has paused these programs, that you know, this is unnecessary in terms of what they've already done in that state. What's your counter argument? Why is it necessary outside of just knowing that there's fraud?
He started talking about hospice fraud after the audit came out that showed there was rampant fraud there. And when he says he's done more about hospice fraud than any other governor, that may be true because there's no other state that's had the rampant hospice fraud that California's had. So he's late to the game, and we want to know when he knew there was fraud. And we don't believe that this is exclusive to Los Angeles County. We believe this is rampant throughout the entire state of California. We have evidence that will take us to begin in Los Angeles County. We hope to spread around. We hope we get more whistleblowers that will come forward, and we hope that we can catch these fraudsters.
Yeah, Chairman, when people hear about this kind of fraud, they want consequences for it. Another term for fraud is theft, stealing from the American taxpayer. President Trump just picked a California prosecutor to lead a new fraud division. Is your investigation going to work in conjunction with that prosecutor, with the White House? Tell us how that partnership's going to work.
Well, we can't arrest anyone in Congress, or I would have arrested a bunch of people over the last 2 years. We investigate, and we turn over the results of our investigation to the Department of Justice, to U.S. attorneys, to whoever is leading an investigation, whether it be J.D. Vance with this new task force, Pam Bondi, or, you know, an attorney general or federal U.S. attorney, whomever's looking into it that we think is sincere about trying to prosecute people, we will do that. So we want to make sure that we're not having a duplicate type of investigative issue here, but we think what we're doing is unique. We want to work with anyone that's going to prosecute these people. And I'll say this, in Minnesota, we just wrapped up our Minnesota fraud investigation, and we've seen 24 people who have been prosecuted already for fraud in Minnesota. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. But the Department of Justice is on the ground in Minnesota. They are prosecuting people. They're putting together cases as we speak to prosecute more. So hopefully we can get this message across that the Trump administration, the House Oversight Committee, is serious about fraud, and maybe that'll spook some people. Maybe we can get some more people indicted and prosecuted, but somebody's got to get the backs of the taxpayers, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, if you're serious about fraud, you're serious about protecting the hard-working dollar of the American taxpayer. All right, we got to run. Great to see you, Chairman. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for
Talk to you soon.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.